Hi guys, how's it going? I've had several questions now about people getting a little frustrated and confused with how to use the multimeter function in Electude. So I'm just going to walk through that really quick. Let's jump into it. So I'm going to jump into Voltmeter Basics. That's one of the modules that you need to work through as part of your first Electude assignment. And the way Electude works is you kind of need to move things around and play with things a little bit. This first little bit is just asking us to identify the different parts of the multimeter. You might be looking at it and go, how the heck do I know the parts of a multimeter? This is just kind of a chance for you to click. You'll notice there's little blue balls. Those are kind of the different places you can click. And then please make sure you're reading this section. It's always going to give you clues. So if I read in here, it says direct and alternating current voltages in volts V. So I'm looking for somewhere with a V. That nothing jumps out exactly right. It could be this button up here. Oh, yep, that's it. It's okay if you get it wrong. There's just a chance for you to click on different things and see what those different parts are, but you need to understand what these parts are because that's going to help you as you move forward. I'm going to click ahead here. This is where most people seem to be having some troubles. This is the multimeter. These are the exact multimeters that we would be using in class in real life. Okay, the tool looks just like this. The way these work is we physically pick these different probes up, they're called. And this black probe we typically refer to as the ground probe, and the red probe as well. And so whenever we're measuring voltage or resistance or even current, we're measuring it between 2 points. So if we want to measure the battery voltage, you might be looking at this diagram and go, I have no idea where the battery is in this schematic. So if you're in that situation, if you don't know where something is, one thing that is really a good idea is you could Google it. So I'm going to open up Google. I'm going to say, what? Oh, maybe you can't see what I'm writing, but I'm writing, what does a battery symbol look like? Let's see if that pulls something up. What does a battery symbol look like? And then I could go to maybe images. Oh, and I see that battery symbol looks like this in a schematic. So then I'm going to go back to my Electude and look around here, and oh, sure enough, here's the battery symbol right here. So it's asking me to measure the battery voltage. So I might need to measure across this battery. These probes always click onto these different little blue boxes. Okay. And then once you have them on 2 boxes, you're going to have to move this dial around. I'm measuring voltage, so I'm going to go to the V section of this multimeter. And the way this works, there's a bunch of different options under V. It has to do with the range of voltage that we're trying to measure. So if I'm on 2 here, this multimeter is only going to be able to read voltages of 2 or less. So it's not showing anything, which makes me think, oh, my voltage is probably more than 2. So then I'm going to click up to 20, and all of a sudden now it's reading 12. So it's saying there's 12 volts across this battery, or a 12-volt battery, which is what your car runs on, a 12-volt battery. And then I'll just hit check. And yep, the battery voltage is 12 volts. It might take a little while for you to figure out where to place these probes, but you need to move them around. And please read this information. It does tell you a lot of information. It says if I want to measure the voltage at connection point 12, so I'd go over here and go, where's connection point 12? Oh, it's right here, number 12. I would connect the red probe to connection point 12 and the black probe to the negative terminal of the battery. So this 26.26 is the negative terminal of the battery. And then if you're testing any point, you can test off of that. That's exactly how we test things in your car. We ground the black probe, and then we test different points in the system to get voltages. You're going to have to play with these things a little bit. Notice if you wanted to test current, you would actually need to flip this over. I don't know if it'll let me in this particular one, but you can actually move this red probe to connect to this other spot here, A, to measure amperage. But you're going to have to move things around. It might get a little frustrating, a little confusing. You can always Google things. Google how to use a multimeter. Okay, I want you guys to be problem solvers. I want you to figure out, because if you have to figure it out, it's going to stick in your head a lot better. It's going to make a lot more sense. These concepts are definitely tricky. Voltage, resistance, current, electricity in general is really hard to wrap your head around. So it's going to take a little bit of time, but I would say arguably it's the most important skill you can have in terms of working on cars or working on any kinds of anything really. I talked to a good friend of mine who's a diesel mechanic out at Kensington Mine, and he said the number one thing he thinks mechanics are lacking is electrical troubleshooting skills. So I really think this stuff is important. I obviously wish we were doing it in real life on real cars, but this is a good way to simulate it, because this is exactly how a multimeter looks and works. So hopefully this answers a few of your questions. Please add questions within the Google Classroom page as you go, so that the whole class can see your questions, and we'll go from there. Take it easy, guys.